All right, you are still on to Election Words, reaching you live from Galaxy Television. And we've been doing that for some hours now. Our focus is on the ongoing election in Ekiti State. Now, to continue our discussion, we are joined by Debo Adeniran, is the chairman CACO. Welcome on the show.
It's my pleasure.
And we still have Dr. Dele Shetelu with us here. Gentlemen, you are welcome to this session.
Thank you.
Let me kick off with you. As regards the election, I would like to have your observation, so far. What are your perceptions about the ongoing exercise?
Well, it is not about perception. It's about what the information I have. First, it's like the fear that was expressed before the election came. Election day came was unfounded. After all, that there would be a lot of strife, a lot of disruption, and all that. Those disruption never came, and the humongous number of security agencies that were there had little or nothing to do, and some of them now became overseers, and they, checking what they should not check, private pockets and the rest of them, and see if there was anything. Because if anybody is carrying any fire, they have all these metal detectors that have detected it and all that. But everybody, the turnout was good, was huge, and everybody was peaceful. The whole thing, accreditation, except that some machines, as expected, malfunction in a few places, not in all places. So this is the way it is. So basically, registry, accreditation and voting is going on, and I believe that at the end of the day, we are going to have a well-coordinated, electoral process.
Okay, earlier on we had our correspondent who told us, an attempt to induce some voters. And I know your organization frowns against things like that. Right. I would like you to react to that. Why is it playing out?
Well, the main report we got about that came yesterday, that some voters were being induced in advance. And what we told our people on the ground was that they should explosive. They should get, concrete evidence and put it, in the hand of the security agencies. But, some people said they had video, and a number of things were contained in the video that we saw. We said the video we saw, we couldn't place it on this particular election. Then we could not. There was no adequate evidence to say that the money that was being shared was being given to induce voters for election. It could be maybe transport fares, from one location to the other during the electionary campaign and other. So we can't hold anybody down to that. Then, for now, I don't think there has been any political party or any contestant that had the courage of taking money to. As a matter of fact, those security agencies at the border didn't allow anybody to take huge amounts of money into Ekiti State since the day before yesterday. They search, and when they see so much money, they ask you to return it to where it's coming from. They didn't seize. Maybe they have started seizing in such money now. But if I don't know what their baseline is, but there is a certain amount of money that they will not allow you to bring into Ekiti State. So I don't think that it is easy. It will be easy for anybody to distribute money. And with the presence of security agents, they are more than usual in each of the police stations. So it is difficult for them, except they want to play into the hand of the law.
What do you think is wrong with our system of politicking in Nigeria? In the past, we once had a situation whereby a candidate is elected irrespective of his tribe, irrespective of his religion. An example was that of MK Abiola and whose running mates, they are both Muslims. But if we look at the situation on ground now, it seems as if we've deviated. What do you think?
My brother, it is not a problem that we can just gloss over. It is the example you even made is not a good example of how election should go. Because that was an election whose ground was prepared for the person the military agents want to win. You know, several politicians were banned, several political associations were banned before that election came over. Is it just that the winner of that election was a philanthropist who didn't discriminate? But before then, a lot of people have reasons why Abiola shouldn't have, you know, fraternized with the military the way he did. So that's, our election had been, in this part of the world, had been like that since the beginning. The colonial master didn't entrust the reign of governance in the hand of ordinary Nigerians. They handed it over to those that who they believe will protect their investment and their interests in this in Nigeria. And since then they didn't leave the reign. You know, they kept on holding on to it. They teleguide almost all of those who have governed us in this country. And the people were badly educated. And because we had bad political education, people didn't even know their political rights. They didn't even aspire to become anything. Even to vote, they think that the government have to be magnanimous to allow them to have their voters card to go to the polling booth to vote. So the political elite now saw this as an avenue to de-educate Nigeria furthermore. So they enjoy the political illiteracy that pervades our atmosphere in Nigeria. That is why we are having it the way we have it. Now, if they now have devised those means of manipulating the mind of the people, they actually funded churches and mosques so that people will aggregate there on particular days, and they will be able to indoctrinate them wrongly to believe that religion is sacrosanct. You know, their religious practice is sacrosanct. And if anybody wants to do it, they use that religious plan against their perceived enemy. That is why we are having. Sometimes when they know that religions cannot work, they use tribal sentiment. They will say that somebody wants to continue to enslave you. They will say somebody say is going to dip the Quran in the Atlantic Ocean. They will say somebody is going to establish an hegemony over, you know, a people, you know, that are created independent and free, you know, by the Creator. So they use all of this sentiment to brainwash people and miseducate them about the right way to do things. And that is why some people are asking for system change. System change cannot just come overnight. It is something, the first precondition for system change is mass education. You have to educate people about the right they have on their government. And you have to educate them on how to demand for it. You have to build their courage to confront the power that, look, this is my right, I'm not going to succumb. I'm not going to submit it to you for whatever. I am the owner and part owner of the instrument of governing. Okay? This instrument of governing is entrusted in your hand so that you will govern on my behalf and give me report of your, what do they call it now? Your performance, so that at the end of the day, I decide whether I want to return you there or I want somebody else to try his own law. So this is the reason why we have been having it, until we change from the present system that allow few people to control the mind and the resources of the largest portion of the society, to the other way around, whereby the citizenry will be the one to determine what the people in government will do. Because, like, for example, all our legislators, they claim that they have legislative offices in their constituency offices now. When you go there, you're not going to find anybody, nobody to complain to, nowhere. Even if you drop complaints, it's not going to see the light of the day. It's not going to be part of what they are going to take to the National Assembly or whichever assembly they are holding. So your voice will not be heard. They believe that they can think on behalf of the people, and the people will only react to what they think is good for them, not that they don't carry out needs assessments. So that means that they don't carry the people they are governing along. Even if you have the best of agenda for the people, what is expected is that you clear it with the people that, look, this is what I want to present to to government on your behalf. Are you comfortable with it? So these legislators, the governors, they don't hold any meeting with the people. So the people are the background. They are just doing things the way they like it.
Maybe this would justify the call for, our legislators to that we have part-time legislators instead of full-time.
Well, it is neither. It is not a question of whether we have part-time or full-time. The thing is that they should be representative. They should be true representatives of the people. Okay, they should take information from the people before they come up with anything at the level. Even if it is part-time and you don't ask the people what the people want, where they need road, you want to do borehole there. It doesn't, add. It doesn't add up. Ask the people: is it road do you want? What is your priority? Is it food? Is it job? Is it this? So even if you think that they need more money in their pockets, and they believe that if they have money in their pocket, they will be able to take care of their socio-cultural needs, okay, then you have to clear with them that this is what I want to present. Say yes or no, even at the level of minimum referendum at its own constituent. But you don't ask the people. You just thought that whatever you think within yourself is what they are going to accentuate. So if you are talking about cost of governance, you can talk about part-time legislature. But then that is also may not cut the cost of governance unless there are policies that reduces how much money individual can earn and how much material wealth people can acquire on their own, even as corporate organization. If there is something that can be called national ideology. If we have something like national ideology that puts upper limit on how much individual can earn. If you are a graduate, how much can you earn? If you have 10 years experience in anything you are doing, even if you are a farmer, how much can you earn? How much can you put in financial institutions? How much investment you can hold and all of that? That will make it impossible for anyone to just say that, yes, I'm the richest man in the world, and I'm also existing in places where you have the poorest person in the world. So there will be equitable distribution of work and wealth.
All right, Doctor, let me come to you. With regards to this election, what special role do you think observers have got to play? Just yesterday we see the international observers coming down to Ekiti and national observers. What special role do you think they have to play with regards to this election?
Well, I suppose in the first instance we should establish that several elections in Nigeria have been characterized by the presence of election observers. I must mention, however, that the Ekiti election has attracted a significant number of election observers internationally. I heard the U.S. Consul General speak on television yesterday. I also heard the head of mission of the African Union, speak. And there's tremendous interest, Western Europe, the European Union, and so on and so forth. So the question we should be asking is why is the international community, shown, such interest in the Ekiti elections? I suppose Ekiti election is about the Nigerian election. It's also about the future of the Nigerian election, the future of the polity, the future of democracy in Nigeria. I suppose Ekiti, in a sense, is a litmus, for the future of democracy in Nigeria. And we should bear in mind that the presence of election observers assists to legitimate elections. I expect that at the end of these elections, the African Union, ECOWAS, the local observers, the United States, and the European Union, etc., will have the reports. And these reports will be in the public domain, not locally and internationally. It should assist to assess, the credibility of the electoral process. It should assist to assess the level of legitimacy, of the electoral process. I suppose the presence of electoral observers in some instances has also assisted to prevent, though to some extent, to limited extent, level of political perversions, But we should bear in mind that electoral officers are largely observers. They're meant to observe, They are non-active, they are meant to observe the process, they are not participants. And they should be seen, they should not be heard. Their role is to observe and to make accurate and objective and fair comments about whatever had happened in the election in terms of the logistics, in terms of security, in terms of the voting pattern, in terms of the attitude of the election officers and the attitude of election officials, in terms of voter turnout and voting pattern and the perception of the voting pattern and the implications for elections and future elections, either in the states or generally, and so on and so forth. On the whole, I suppose that an election observer role is a component of bourgeois democracy. It is meant to legitimate the process, it is meant to add integrity to the process, and it is meant to assist INEC itself, the electoral body, prepare better in future elections, because I expect that the minuses, the shortcomings of the Ekiti elections will be pointed to the electoral body. And we expect that INEC will build on it for Osun elections and 2019 general elections.
Okay, still staying on you. When you, from our reporters, they've talked about alleged inducement of voters. Of course, we see between the ages of 18 and 35, as the case may be. You know, so when we put into consideration this not too young to run bill, do you think this can actually fly? Put into consideration the candidates, the aspirants at this point in time, their age status, and the call for the not too young to run bill vis-a-vis this inducement of voters by politicians?
Well, in the first instance, I'm not particularly excited about the not too young to run bill. For me, it doesn't matter the age. For me, the more critical issues are, the class position, the class position and the implications for politics. I might be young, but I might have the predisposition and the mentality of the exploiter, of the oppressor. It also has to do with the resources that are deposited in the hands of the whatever. I know most of the young people do not have the resources. But I equally know that the values of some of the young people are perverted. So many of the young people in Nigeria are into drug, are into gun running, are into kidnapping and all of such. I know these are social whatever. I'm equally aware that so many young people are enterprising and are quite impressive, But the question is, will the presence of the young minds in the political space or the control of political power necessarily change the contour of political leadership or the nature of politics in Nigeria? That's the question we should be posing. If you ask me, no. I rather prefer agglomeration of different ages. But the more important issue is the ideology. There's ideology deficit in the politics, in the nature of politics in Nigeria, and that's also required. The kind of ideology I'm referring to is not the politics of the belly that most of the politicians play, but the ideology that will raise development issues, that will raise the condition of the poor, that will raise the condition of the working people, and change the circumstance of Nigeria as a player in the international political economy.
All right.
Mr. Adeniran, do you share same thoughts with regards to this, his submission?
You mean on not you
Yes.
to run? As a matter of fact, why that bill was crystallizing, I was approached, and I said it is not about age, it's about mentality. That there should be another bill of not too old to govern. Because look, for now we have so many young people in government, even than we used to have before. The people are quick to refer to the days of our laws, Horos, and that they came in their 30 and all that. Of course, they were the first set of political elites that could be banked on. So the time favored them, okay, and they didn't die off, and their experiences were still there. And a situation where you have young people that just want to acquire, material possession at all costs. The only thing he understands is go to power, accumulate as much money as possible. Look at the young people we have in local government. Many of them are under 30. Many of them are under 40. What have they done with power in their hand? Have they shown shining example of how governance should be better run? Have they injected the new technology into the act of governance.
But have you
So-
realized that that does not represent the majority?
So that is one. Two, even in the National Assembly, we have many of them under 50. What have they done with the power in their hands? What legislations have they made on behalf of the people? What legislations have they made that will make it possible for anybody that knows what to do to come into the political arena to canvass his own ideas and win election fair and square without any special instrument? Because if you legislate to have a fair society, you will not need all of these not too young. If, whether they are young, whether they are old, you still have to project your own idea, and people have to buy into it. If you don't have the fundamentals of crystallizing, your political whatever, how will you be able to carry it out? Many of these young people that we have that are very vibrant, very brilliant and all that, they are in high places in the corporate world. All of you are young people. Will all of you go into politics? You will not have, because of the kind of foundation that has been laid for our political environment. You can't, you may not have be given a space, but a situation whereby the ideological thing comes in, that nobody has a better, financial arsenal than the other. Okay, if the state controls the commanding height of the economy, then a politician cannot just take over the supply of electricity overnight, okay, and see ask the state to support him with some other funds. That is double jeopardy to the masses. Okay,
all right.
Now, so these are the reasons why we are saying that it is not about age. It is about ideas, it's about commitment, it's about being able to articulate pro-people agenda in politics.
All right, let me remind our viewers that you can be part of this discussion. Don't forget, the reason why we are here is because you are there watching us. So you can also lend your voice, you can also contribute via our social media platform. You can tweet at Galaxy TV, and you can also post your comments on Facebook, because we are having a live update on Facebook. I would like you to be part of this discussion. Let me come back to you, Debo.
That's right.
And I will take you to Ekiti, because Ekiti is the case study here.
That's right.
Now,
Can
one
we
of the
check on
critical
Facebook
issues
account?
in the
Check
mind
on
of
feedback.
Ekiti people has to deal with the issues of the herdsmen.
That's right.
And the present governor has taken a
Suggest
position as
change
regards
to
that, which is
2%
known to
also.
everybody. Is saying that, okay, there's a law in existence in the state.
That's right.
Now, how do you see this playing out for the next administration?
Well, I should confess to you that Fayoshe's law on herdsmen is a good law, and which one will recommend to anybody that comes in after him that it should implement. It is a law that gives consideration to the opinion of a broad spectrum of stakeholders before it was was signed into law. So this, it carries everybody along. So the leadership of the herdsmen could not say that they were not carried along, that they were not part of the making of that law. And the people, the farmers themselves cannot say that they don't even know what role they should play to avoid all of these clashes. They will not be able to say that this is the, we don't know the boundary. So basically, that is a good law. But then, when anything is politicized in Nigeria, it will skew towards the law will be implemented in a way that it will be used against the perceived political enemy. There's no law that cannot be so manipulated. What we will appeal to whoever is coming in is that to look at the fair side of the law, not that the loopholes that can be exploited to cage, the perceived opponent. And if all laws are implemented in that way, I believe that it is a wide. It is a difference. It's a different process that led to Ekiti state law different from that of Benue law. Okay, I'm not sure the Benue law took similar process that Ekiti State law took. So if you want to do something that somebody else did, would you be able to do it the way will you be able to go through the process that the other fellow went through? So this is the problem. I am not saying that Benue law was not good, but it's like there is a lot of ego that was injected into it, that yes, we are in government, we have the powers to make law for you, and we're going to impose laws. Any law that is imposed on the people will fail. And that is why somebody said that, look, any unjust laws are made to be broken. And that is why that law may not stand the test of time. So basically, we believe that farmers, we are talking about farmers, even herdsmen are farmers. Okay, we are just talking about livestock farmers and crop farmers should find a middle road to live together in harmony, so that, because they are enemies, herdsmen, their herds will want to feed on the crops. Okay, and the crops also need the manure they can get from herdsmen to fertilize their land. So they should be able to iron out their differences and settle down in harmony. And that is the role of government as an arbiter between two opposing poles.
All right, let me push this to Dr. Dele. Now, if you look at the political history of Ekiti, it's been a challenge over the years for a governor to be succeeded by his supposed candidate. Now, you see that playing out over the years in Ekiti. Now, you as a political scientist, what do you think is wrong with this political model?
Well, I do not see it as a model.
Okay.
It's certainly not a model that I'm familiar with in theory. It could be a political style. It could be a succession plan, of different levels of political leaders, I rather advance the discussion beyond choosing successors. The question is, should an outgoing leader choose his successor? And if he chooses his successor, what should it matter to the Ekiti people in this instance? The additional question I'd like to add is it democratic to choose a successor? How democratic is it? Is it within the confines of the principles of democracy and so on and so forth? Well, on the whole, my response would be this. The Ekiti people should decide who the leader will be, who the governor will be. The outgoing governor cannot be more interested, in the future of Ekiti, far more than the Ekiti people. Okay? My worry about the successor syndrome is the probability that the successor would sustain the agenda, cover the tracks of the outgoing governor, and prevent scrutiny. We've had such instances, in the Southwest, and I'm reluctant to mention names, considering that we're on a live program. But we've not had, detailed scrutiny of government activities as a result of the godfatherism and the successor syndrome that emerged thereof. I would prefer, and I suppose it's more democratic, that the Ekiti people, the people of Ekiti, to choose their leader within the limits of the perception of the issues. The Ekiti people should choose the leader who they consider best, who reflect their interests and ventilate their interests. I suppose that it will matter a little to Ekiti people who is succeeding the other. And if a successor or if an outgoing governor is choosing his successor, I suppose the more important issue, to the Ekiti people will be which of the governors will address the question of welfare, which of the candidates will address the question of arrears of salaries, which of the candidates will address the problem of infrastructure, which of the candidates will raise the level of rural peasantry to mechanized farming, which of the candidates will raise Ekiti economy, from rural peasant economy to somewhat industrial. These, I suppose, are the issues that at this point in time will occupy the mind of the Ekiti people. You know, there could be drawbacks, you know. I know that politically, you know, it would be naive to expect that an outgoing governor will not be interested in his successor. But there should be limit to it. Otherwise, the outgoing governor will become a godfather that is choosing a successor that will likely do his biddings, and we might not in the long run have a government that will be accountable to the people of Ekiti. You know, and I suspect that such situation also encourages a situation where there's a de facto governor and a de jure governor. And the de facto governor in this case will be the outgoing governor.
All right. That's a wonderful one. We'll take a short break down. I'll be back to take more live updates from our correspondent. It's still election watch. Stay with us.
Situation in for Ekiti is good, though we have not witnessed such number of police officers and security men like this before. But they are doing their job, and there is no harassment of anybody, and I think the security situation is perfect.
The polling unit in front of at the Demoro here, they were trying, the APC people by giving voters money. They said they should vote and come to the backyard to collect 5,000 naira, which is illegal. They did not allow people to cast their vote to the right person, to the people of their choice. They are canvassing them that they should come and collect money by voting for APC, which is wrong.
So far so good. As at the point of this interview, things have been going on well, and in terms of security, it has also been perfect. But however, you know, in any election, there will be one pranks or the other by politicians. So on my way coming to Afau this morning, at a community known as Are, I discovered there was a sort of people running a skater. So I had to stop and decided to find out what exactly was going on. So the information I got there was that some security operatives stormed a house there, based on the information that some people were sharing money.
There's nothing like that in Ari. So though some people, most of PDP They are trying to intimidate us, but we are trying to settle the matter. There's no problem. So now you can see the exercise is still going on now. So they are voting, the voting and everything is going very well.
Lunch. I need to take my
All right,
medication.
it's still election watch, and our focus today is still the state being regarded as the land of honor, the fountain of knowledge. All right, let me get to Debo now. You know, INEC insisted at the time that, you know, security details attached to VIPs will not be allowed to escort their principal during the election. Did you observe anything about this?
Well, I don't think security details actually escorted their principals to the polling booth, and that's the way it should be. You know, everybody should be equally protected on election day, so that nobody will have the opportunity of moving, you know, arms in terms of firearms and arsenals, in terms of resources to electoral places, so that if there is level playing field, everybody will be equally kitted. That is the way it should be. I think that is playing out in Ekiti. So far, it's been so good. I have not got a report for the past 1.5 hours. So I wouldn't know if things have changed. But I believe that things are okay. Eleka's PVC was rejected. His wife was able to pass through and all of that. So this is, and it was done peacefully, although he protested, but what can he do? It is the card that has a fault. So that is the way it is. So nobody has used any force on anybody. Nobody has intimidated anybody. So far, nobody has. So this is the way it should be all the time. As a matter of fact, the security agencies that are attached to VIPs are usually too many. No, because what are they really running away from? Are they saying that they are because they are governing a state, they have more enemies after them that want to take their lives or whatever, or that the ordinary person on the streets could sacrifice his own life because he's not in position of power? Even when these people are being paid double, they pay them so much for the work they are not doing. They give them security, I mean, the state give them security vote. They have so many things free for them. They don't buy fuel, they don't fuel their own gen, their houses were given to them, their cars were given to them, everything was given to them by the same peasants who just struggle to have 1 square meal a day. They are the ones that are paying taxes. It's you people in corporate bodies that are paying taxes. Those in government, they are just living on those taxes and all. So basically, we are supposed to be more protected than those. They should pay for their own security cover. Why we should have the state cover.
All right, let me bring Dr. Dele in. You know, he just made a submission now, but I need to ask you, how sustainable is this sustainable? You know, we once had a situation, the IG issued a statement that they had to withdraw, security details attached to VIPs, only to make a kind of U-turn. So how sustainable is this?
Well, how sustainable? I really doubt it's sustainable. But I'd like to converse the issue within a somewhat deeper context. The question we should be asking is, why do the political class need such level of security? You know, what is the political class afraid of? Who will hurt the political elite? You know, I suppose the level of security attached to the political class, you know, has to do with the nature of politics, you know, itself in Nigeria. To the extent that the political class do not feel secured, and feel threatened, and feel that there could be danger to life and so on and so forth. Look, in concrete terms, what we should be doing
All right,
is...
sorry to cut you short. I think we have Dele Fason standing by in Ekiti. Dele?
Yes.
Yes, can we have your take on what is happening in Ekiti right now?
Yes, the governor, he just voted about 5 minutes ago.
All right.
And before he voted, the card reader did not see his hand, could not capture him until about 10 minutes. And he was lamenting, telling the INEC officials to get their acts right. But what really took my attention was that while we were speaking with the governor during an interview session we had with him, he made mention that security operatives hijacked the elections with the fillers he was getting from his men on the field. He blamed them for leading talks in Ekiti, in parts of Ekiti, where they said about 6 polling units materials were hijacked. So he complained that despite the hiccups in the election, he has 100% assurance that he's going to win the election. But he's just letting the world know that the atrocities, like the way you put it, is a bad sign for 2019 elections. He did mention,
Okay, Dele, apart from the governor who had issue with the card reader, did the same thing play out as regards to the voters?
I didn't get that.
I said, other voters, did they experience the same thing as regards the card reader?
Okay, before the governor came, at least about 95% of voters who were accredited and voted simultaneously are left. We did not receive such card reader malfunctioning, except for the governor. And they said the thing just started because the card reader overworked. That was the excuse they gave. They even made mention that in the Ekiti, where the PDP, the party candidate and his wife went to vote, the card reader too did not take the wife's fingerprint after about 10-15 minutes before we captured the wife. So they made it that it just about a few cases of that problem.
Dele, what's the conduct of the party agents at the particular polling unit you are?
No, the party agents, yes. Like in this area, they are talking about Afao and Ekiti. The party agents their turnout were impressive. They were all given a section where they stood by the INEC officials, where they would be visible to everybody, where they could watch people voting without any inducement. That is it.
Okay, in terms of mobility, are there enforcement?
I didn't get that.
In terms of mobility, movement of people,
yes.
Are there enforcement or total compliance, as the case may be?
Because along the road here, the only vehicles you see are that of security operatives and media men and observers, domestic and international observers. Those are the vehicles you see along the road. Our security men are ensuring that people are checked to show their identity before they move.
For the observers, what has been their impression so far? Are they impressed about what they've seen so far?
Yes, the Director of Women and Rights. Our complaint was about what happened in Ekiti area where the ballot boxes were snatched. But our overall expression of the elections for Nigerians, but the implementation has not been 100%. And she went further to say that there will be no election in the history of Nigeria as of today that will be compared to that of June 12th. So the INEC was to give INEC time, but the talks are being sponsored by politicians. He advised youth to shun inducement by politicians if they want Nigeria to move forward.
Okay, Dele, can you confirm if voting where you are right now, it's been rounded off?
Voting is still ongoing, but voters come in maybe every 2 weeks because very few, almost everyone has left the about 10 polling units here. But the INEC official says at 2 p.m. they will call off voting. But just now, they just come in trickles. That is the situation right now.
Now, if the people in question insist they would like to vote, do you think the officers there can accommodate them between now and the slated time?
Actually, I cannot be able to speak with a doctor right now because, INEC has the final say about the voting. Because they made it known, even a pamphlet that was issued to everyone. Before the voting started, they said by 2 p.m., anyone that is not here, it was not vote. So that was the morning that the governor even came to 2. When the governor came, there was nobody there. They just walked there, accreditation, he voted before he left the scene.
All right,
so
Dele. We must thank you for that update. Just keep up the good work. We'll get back to you later. All right. Now back to the studio. Let me start with Debo. He just talked about some voters coming in, few minutes to the end of the exercise. What will you say about that?
Well, that is what you expect when there is a scary, pre-election atmosphere. A lot of people want to find out what actually is happening outside before they stick their neck out. And sometimes there is voter apathy, especially when you have bad, voters' education. Most of the things that we heard about Ekiti is not about how to educate the populace on what to do on election day. It is about somebody is fighting me, somebody is saying that. They didn't tell the voter how safe they are, how to conduct themselves, what's procedure to adopt. So they might have stayed back to learn that how are they doing it. For those who went there, maybe they gave reports before they come. But the way elections have always been conducted is that if you give a time frame, on the dot of that time, a security agent will stand at the end of the queue, and anybody that comes after will not be allowed. But those who are already on the queue will be allowed to vote and get away with it.
Okay, Dr. Dillon, do you think, in light of this, do you think it's necessary for INEC to extend the time, scheduled for election? The election ideally should round off by 2 p.m. But do you foresee a need for INEC to, with the situation on ground, extend maybe for subsequent elections, or look at that possibility?
Well, INEC is a supervisor, and INEC is on ground. It deals with the logistics, and INEC understood the terrain better, and INEC should be in a better position to determine what time it should be allocated, the time should be extended or not. But I suppose there's been an amendment that is fundamental to the timing. You recall that in previous election, was it 2015 election, we had accreditation and voting differently. And that delayed the process. No. That delayed the time, the voting time. But in this case now, INEC realized that there was a problem about it, that process was problematic, and it chose to co-join accreditation and voting. and that has somewhat expedited the process. If you ask me, provided the card reader is working quite well, provided the presiding officer and his assistants are committed to the work and are doing it rightly, voting should start and commence between 8 and 2, genuinely, yes. It should, yeah.
Okay, let me stay on you, Doctor. Just from what our colleague just said, alleging that, says thugs have actually allegedly jacked some ballot boxes. Can this be inevitable in Nigeria in terms of elections?
Well, it will likely happen. It might still happen again and again, you know, if you ask me, for certain reasons. One, politics is warfare in Nigeria. It is war. And it is winner takes all, and it is loser losing all. So the political class is desperate, knowing full well that if he wins all. And if he loses all. You know, the kind of state we have, the state, you know, the state lacks autonomy. The state is such that it's there to be hijacked by a fraction of the political class. And when a fraction hijacks it hijacks it to serve the interests of that faction, although pretending to protect the interests and ventilate the interests of the old dominant class. You know, if you ask me, I'll be clear, I'll be quite straight in mentioning this. Would likely have recurring cases of ballot snatching, you know, electoral violence, and all forms of electoral perversions, you know, to the extent that our electoral politics remain the way it is. I said it earlier. The electoral system is majoritarian. It is winner takes all. We do not have the politics of compromise. We do not share power. For instance, proportional representation is not part of our political culture. And guess what? We have a state that so much resources are concentrated in. The state appropriates and expropriates. And the state is the arbiter of resources. The state, you know, the state retains all the resources, and whoever controls the state, you know, controls economic power. You should bear in mind, you know, that most of the members of the political class are not into production. The political class in Nigeria is hardly a producer class. A producer class in the sense you rarely find members of the political class who are also into active professions or productive processes. Politics has become profession in Nigeria, and the control of state, you know, is equated to the control of economic power. It means presupposes that whoever controls state power controls in effect the economy, you know, and economic resources and so on and so forth. So that explains why the political class will always be desperate. But guess what? We are not changing the context of our polity. We are not rethinking the process. You know, we are not rethinking the process. So, you know, to the extent that the state remains the way it is, to the extent that the politics remain the way it is, to the extent that politics, you know, is still seen in absolute sense and what sense, we will recurrently have negative instances such as this.
All right, Mr.
We need to rethink the process.
Let me come to you quickly. One would expect that with the level of security agencies domiciled in Ekiti at the moment, issues of ballot snatching, talks being spearheading this act should be a thing of the past. What do you make of this?
Well, I wouldn't know how it happened, but then the thugs, the criminals themselves are very creative and they are strategic. They are methodical in their operations. They watch out for loopholes which they exploit. If you look at what is happening in places where insurgencies are working now, their targets now are soft targets. Okay, they don't go where you have maximum force that can confront them. They go to places where they have relaxed the security. So that could have been what has happened. The organized crime don't just happen unless they have some security agencies that has conspired with them. And we have had cases in the past where even those that are supposed to secure a place, you know, call on those who are supposed to disrupt the process. And in that conspiracy, they have been able to carry out some heinous crimes. So basically, that might be what is happening.
All right, on that note, we'll have to wrap it up in this session. I need to appreciate Debo Adeni on the chairman Kako, and appreciate Dr. Dele for being part of this discussion. It's been a long one, and I must commend you for your patience and your maturity. I hope one day you will go into politics.
You mean me? It's not likely under this system. If the system changes, maybe I will have temperament.
The boys into politics. I'll tell you about it behind the camera.
That's a nice one. All right, the discussion continues on social media. We have to, wrap up the studio discussion. Don't forget, it's the election watch, and we are here to give you the best. So you can still contribute on the social media. But for now, we'll have to wrap up. Bye for now.
Nothing beats expression from creativity. Craft that speaks volume. An artist and his work. Galaxy Television, in conjunction with the National Museum of Unity, Ibadan, presents Arts and Craft Exhibition 2018. If you're mastering any form of art like drawing, paintings, ceramics, photography, textiles, sculptures, jewelry, and lots more from Lagos, Akure, Ibadan, and other parts of Nigeria and beyond, register now by sending your profile with an attachment of soft copies of your work to email gtvartandcraft@gmail.com. Art connoisseurs, lovers, and collectors are also invited.